Hello, welcome to Around Town with Rotary. My name is Michael Harrington. I'm one of the co-hosts of today's show. This is a monthly show that we produce to familiarize everyone around town with some of the men and women of the Beverly Rotary Club. Beverly Rotary Club's been around for over 100 years now, and we have over 100 men and women members from all different backgrounds. And today we're going to have a very special guest we'd like to introduce. I'd like to turn it over to my co-host, Al Temkin, to introduce today's guest.
Thank you, Mike. And welcome, Sean Goudreau. Welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
New Rotary Club president starting next Monday, I guess, is the actual official start date for your presidency. And we appreciate you being here. So to begin with, we're going to talk about a lot of things today, Sean, but why don't we start with you? A little bit about your background, where you're from, where are you living now, and just a little bit of, about you and, where you're from.
Yeah, so I grew up in Swampscott. I went K through 12, graduated Swampscott High School. From high school, I went to college at Northwood University, which is a small business school. And I was given the choice of either going to school in Midland, Michigan, or West Palm Beach, Florida. So I chose the
West Palm Beach,
beaches
Florida.
and palm trees, and I went to West Palm Beach.
Of course you did.
So I went there, studied banking, finance, and economics, and I actually worked at the Breakers Hotel.
Oh.
I don't know if you've been there, but I was a valet there, which is a really sweet gig because you get to drive pretty much every nice car there is.
Right.
And then I got promoted to bellman, so I was a bellman there as well, and that helped pave my way through school. I graduated there, had a brief stint in Lynn, lived in Salem, I moved to Peabody, and then I found my way naturally to Beverly, where I've been for about 3 years or so.
Well, we're lucky to have you here in Beverly. So tell us, if you would, a little bit about your family, when you were growing up, and then if you would kind of pivot that to your current family. Introduce us to all of that.
Okay, so like I said, I grew up in Swampscott. My father, Barry, was a musician, still is. He's a career musician, so he was touring a lot when I was little. Had a nanny and helped my mom with me and my sister. My dad was flying around the world in the late 80s, early 90s. And then things kind of slowed down musically for him, so he was around a lot when I was a kid. I have a younger sister, Michelle, who's 2 years younger than me. We had a place, still have a place up on Lake Winnipesaukee, so did our summers up there, and pretty much the traditional upbringing. Now I have 2 kids of my own. Alyssa's 9, Samuel's 7. So it's the same age difference as me and my sister. And I'm in sales, so I'm on the road all the time, but a lot of it's working from home. So although I am in financial sales and my dad was a musician, I would say as far as the dynamic in the household and the children and the upbringing is actually remarkably similar.
Interesting. And I can also say you're one hell of a dad, and I only know that because whenever I'm picking up my grandkids from school, because your kids and my kids attend the same school, you're always there picking them up and dropping them off and all of that. So you're doing a great job.
Yep.
Good for you. Good for you.
So you were in the financial industry now, but you mentioned go back to Swampscott High School back in the day. It's always interesting when we meet with a guest to find out kind of what they were thinking back when they were young. Sometimes people had a certain thought about their career when they were young, and they might have studied certain things, but eventually maybe they end up in a different place. What were you hoping to do maybe when you were younger, and how did it eventually become the industry you're in now?
Yeah, so to go way back, my first job was when I was about 6 or 7 years old. My parents had a cabin on Lake Winnipesaukee, and there was a restaurant down the street that had, a public dock where people would bring their boats. They'd go up, they'd have dinner, and then come back and leave. But it was so popular, the boats started backing up. So being a little entrepreneurial, I figured I might as well help these people out. And although I was far too young to be working, I became like a dock boy, and I was making $200 a night when I was 6 or 7 years old doing that. And I really learned a lot about customer service and dealing with people, hungry people's food, and dealing with people's money is very similar. They tend to be a little sensitive about it. When I was in high school, to be honest, my thought was, where's the party at? And all I wanted to do is have a good time. In high school, I was very popular with the students, not so popular with the faculty. I left on not so good of a note with the faculty, and that party continued into college. Freshman year, I did something, I made some bad choices, and I was on final disciplinary probation within like 2 months of being there. And I was just hanging on by a thread. And there was a finance professor, his name was Professor Alexander Watts, and he called me into his office one day and said, "You got two choices here." He said, "You can continue down the path you're on, and you're gonna get kicked out of college." And he said, "I guarantee you, you will be a loser for the rest of your life. Or you can change your major from marketing to finance. You can study, do everything I tell you to do. You'll be remarkably successful, and it'll be the best decision you'll ever make." And he sent me on my way, said, "Let me know by the end of the week what you want to do." And I chose the latter, where I went into finance, studied with him, and as I say, the rest is history.
My goodness. Well, sometimes the universe puts a special person in our life that kind of embraces us and gets us pivoted in the right direction. So it sounds like you were lucky to come across this guy. And
Yeah, that was him. And I got to tell you, I hated math. I was terrible at math. But he said, "You focus, do everything you need to do. I will set you up for success." So it was a struggle, getting through some of the courses and everything. But I started seeing the bigger picture and how it all comes together. Career-wise, he set me up for success throughout.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Are you still in touch with Professor Watts?
Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
That's neat. Good for you.
Yeah, I actually wrote him a nice letter a couple years ago telling him about myself and my family and my successes and really thanking him and telling him you put me on the right path.
That's of you to do.
yeah,
that.
well, kudos to him for having the belief in you and seeing the vision and the potential you had. And that's what's great sometimes about teachers is that what's one of the reasons they teach is they take a special interest in people, and they probably get a lot of satisfaction seeing people go off and develop and evolve.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he saw something in me that nobody else saw, and I certainly didn't see myself. So for that, I owe a lot to him for that.
Well, you really do, and it sounds like he also made your decision making simple. These are the two options. Pick one.
Yeah.
Right? The good news
Yeah,
is you
and
picked the right one.
Make it
And what I
binary.
appreciate is the brutal honesty.
Yeah.
Was what I appreciate. There's no sugarcoating anything.
Well, he knew you well enough to know that was the approach he needed to take. So
Yeah,
it's kind of
exactly.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you're a busy guy. You've got a family. You've got your job. But what other hobbies do you have when you're not busy with your family and working? What other types of things do you like to do for fun?
Yeah, so my hobbies right now are kind of limited and try to do things nights and really early mornings so I can spend time with the family. I really love cars and racing and that sort of thing. So I have a track car that I've built that I don't drive on the track as much as I'd like to, but I try to go out about once a month with that. As I said, with the family, I try to be there. Try to be there when they wake up and try to be there when they go to sleep. Over the past 10 years or so, I've been really into the gym and exercise and that sort of thing. And given what happened in the mortgage industry last year, things started getting very stressful. And I found myself in need of a healthy outlet. So I got into running, funny enough. And I started swimming about 3 or 4 years ago. Got into open water swim events, did pretty well with that. And I absolutely hated running. And I tell you, I despised it. And I went from not running more than a mile to running like multiple marathons. And that's become a hobby, a stress relief, and something I can do when it's dark out and my family's sleeping. And it's a win-win. Stress relief, feel good, keeps me in shape, so it's been great.
Awesome.
Good for
Awesome.
you. Good for you. So, Sean, you mentioned quickly the mortgage industry, which is the industry you're involved with.
Yep.
So, my first question is, how did you get there? How did you get to the mortgage business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I graduated college in 2010. I had a degree in banking, finance, and economics. And I had this grand idea of getting myself into a hedge fund, working in finance, being in New York, all the glitz, all the glamour, like the sexy business that I dreamed of. But reality hit hard when I I moved in to my parents' basement in 2010. The market wasn't great. And I realized you can't just knock on the hedge fund's door and they're going to welcome you with open arms. So I found myself living at my parents' house with no job and was introduced to the owner of a small mortgage company. And he said, it's commission only. You'll know very quickly if this is for you or not. We'll take you on, see what you think. And I figured I have two choices here. I can either sit in my parents' basement making no money, complaining about being broke, or I can take this job, it's all commission. I can work hard, give it all I got. Worst case, I'm still gonna be broke. Well, at least I have a job. So I started there in May of 2010, so about 2 months after I graduated, and I gave it hell. I gave it everything I had, and now I've been doing this for 14 years. So it's been a wild ride, but it's been great.
Good for you. Good for you. That's terrific. Now, I don't know a whole lot about the mortgage business, but I know that our businesses are very, very competitive businesses, and I know that the mortgage business is as well. Why would somebody come to see you to do a mortgage versus going someplace else? What's the differentiator?
Yeah, so I started from the bottom. So when I first started, I went through the white pages, A to Z, cross-referenced it with Zillow and Public Record. And I was calling like 300 people a day, straight out of the white pages, because that's really all I knew how to do to get business. And I was processing all my own loans, putting together all my own applications. So I really learned the business from the ground floor of how it all works. Today, I have a really good team of processors that work for me, where we can do a loan faster than anyone out there. And we make it quick, we make it easy, and we are truly as professional as it comes. So when people work with us, they know that we are professional, we're quick, we make it easy, we have competitive rates. And people work with us once, and they refer friends, family, coworkers, and then they become family, and they come back again and again.
Sure, and I assume that now, 14 years in, you're not making 300 calls a day anymore, right? You're getting a lot more referrals from people, and you probably have some other contacts. And
correct.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot more strategic. I would say before was more of the shotgun approach, where I threw a very wide net and hoped I caught something, whereas now it's very strategic. I have a lot of real estate agents I've been working with for the better part of a decade. So now it's 100% referral-based business.
Terrific.
That's terrific. Hey, listen, thanks so much for sharing that. We're just going to take a quick break here for a couple of minutes. Those of you at home watching, we'd encourage you to watch this short 3-minute video that really talks about the Beverly Rotary Club and some of the people that are in our club and some of the efforts that we support. So we'll see you back on the other side in just a moment.
We raise a lot of money for Beverly organizations.
And they bought us our refrigerated van.
They made a significant contribution to the restoration of Ellis Square.
They helped us house a family experiencing homelessness.
They bought us our bookmobile.
They were actually the first ones to donate instruments to the high school band.
They bought oxygen masks for our rescue dogs.
They helped buy our school bus.
They fund the annual Brad Gage Ice Cream Social at Lynch Park every summer, and they even scoop the ice cream.
Since 2014, they've supported the Cabot, funding preservation of this historic gem.
They helped to fund the Council on Aging van.
They were a major donor to our new infant toddler playground.
They bought an emergency generator for Harbor Lighthouse.
We funded and built the gazebo.
And we've got a green thumb.
A lot of green thumbs.
A lot of green thumbs.
Not to mention sculptures.
We planted more than 100 trees last year.
They donated a shuttle bus stop that brings veterans to the VA hospital in Bedford.
We're going to buy a water drone to clean plastics out of Beverly Harbor.
They make a big difference for United Way.
We give up to 8 scholarships.
8 scholarships every year since the mid-1980s.
And I was a recipient, and thanks to their help, I was the first in my family to go to college.
It's more than just a local organization.
There are 33,000 clubs
In 200 countries with 1.2 million members worldwide.
All that good adds up.
Those do-gooders just keep doing good.
We funded 13 wells in Kisumu, Kenya, bringing water to 13 schools.
We contributed to Kalusha School in Pakistan, and later to the construction of a fabulous women's college.
Hi, I'm Izzy Polito. I'm Mirabella Polito. I'm Andrea Polito. And we're all youth exchange students. We started the Youth Exchange program 13 years ago, partly because I was also an exchange student in 1979.
I'm Aku. I'm from Finland. They hosted me as an exchange student.
We funded Dr. Gordon Sato of Hamilton, who devised a way to grow trees in salt water in Senegal, Mauritania, and Eritrea.
Our club has funded at least 20 life-changing surgeries around the world.
And we've participated as non-medical volunteers
in the Philippines,
in Bolivia,
and Venezuela.
And remember,
since launching the Polio Plus campaign over 30 years ago, the number of polio cases worldwide has dropped 99%.
In 2019, clubs in the district joined the Polar Plunge to eradicate polio. The clubs raised $90,000.
Can we get back to Beverly, please?
Over the past 10 years, we've raised, probably about $100,000.
Try $400,000.
Over the past 10 years, we've raised over $1 million.
I have made some wonderful friends.
It's downright inspiring.
it's an important part of my week.
It's a very important part of my week.
Sometimes it's the best part of my week.
It's one of the best things I do.
Even if people still ask about the secret handshake.
Welcome back. Our guest here today is Sean Gaudreau. Sean is the new president for the Beverly Rotary Club, and we're delighted to have him here as our guest. Hey, Sean, since this is the Beverly Rotary show, let's talk a little bit about Rotary. You're the brand new president, and let's talk about how you got involved in Rotary. How did you discover Rotary? How did you join, and all that kind of stuff?
So I don't know if I discovered Rotary or Rotary discovered me, but as I said before, I saw some early success in the mortgage industry. I was about 23, 24 at the time. Had some early successes. I was looking for a way to give back to the community, but I didn't want to just start something on my own. What I was really looking for was what I refer to as a trifecta. So how can I meet good people? How can I do good things for the community? And how can I have fun doing it? And a good friend of mine, Sarah McBurney, told me, I have this club that I'm part of and you have to check it out. And I went and I realized the Beverly Rotary is this perfect trifecta. I met a whole lot of good people. We do a whole lot of good things for the community, and we have a lot of fun while we're doing it. So it's really a win-win for the community, for the members, and I always have fun when I'm there.
Awesome. You know, what happens at Rotary is you get a whole bunch of different people with different personalities and talents and backgrounds, and sometimes they fall into different committees that might match up things they like to do or things they're good at. Now that you're an incoming president, what are some of the other things you've been involved in Rotary so far? Any committees or work you've done that you found particularly interesting?
Yeah, so I think I've done a little bit of everything. I've been on membership, I've headed membership, I've been in the board of directors, vice president, and now I'm the incoming president. I've also done a lot of the service projects, been involved in a lot of those types of committees. So I think I've seen Rotary, specifically our club, from pretty much every perspective possible.
I would add you've also helped us quite a bit on the fundraising side
yes.
as well. Yeah, which has been much appreciated. Well, if you had to kind of focus on one or two of your best experiences being a Rotarian, what would they be?
Yeah, so I would say two things come to mind with that. First, it's really getting to know the people in the club on a personal level. I like to refer to the club as an iceberg, not the one that sunk the Titanic, but in a good way. Meaning what you see on the surface in terms of both the club and the members is really only a small portion of what's actually happening. And it's really interesting when you get to know the members. You see them at the meeting every week, you get to know them, you talk to them for an hour or so. But that's only the tip of the iceberg, because when you really realize what they're doing for the community, both with actionable items and with monetary items, it's a whole lot more than what you really think of. And what really is important to me is that our members aren't the type of people that do something good for the community just so they can go out on social media and Facebook and put it all out there. They're the people doing it for more deeper seated meanings and doing it because they really enjoy it, and they don't really tell anyone about it, and they don't get a whole lot of community thank you for it. Mm-hmm. they're doing it for their own reason. And if you really have to look closely to find the amount of money and the amount of things they're doing, which is great.
It certainly is. Yeah, and our club has a long-standing tradition.
104 years.
Right, of just that, right? Now, so as is typical, Sean, and in the years you've been involved, you know that a new president coming in typically has some thoughts and some goals and some objectives, some things that a president wants to achieve during their year. What might some of those be for you?
Yeah, so I have 3 main goals here. First is to grow membership. We have roughly 110 members, which means we're the largest group in the region. But we could always be bigger. So my first goal is to recruit new members, and I love to focus on younger professionals. And this is a challenge for Rotary, not only for our club, but Rotary nationally and internationally, is the age piece. So internationally, the average age of a Rotarian is 58 years old. So we would love to bring in the younger generation and the millennials. This is both easy and challenging in that when you talk to the younger generation, they know Rotary as a bunch of old guys, which obviously we aren't. When you go to Rotary, we've been here for 104 years. We have a lot of traditions, and we, believe it or not, have members who have been there for 50 years plus. So what we want to do is find that fine balance of bringing in the younger generation while maintaining our traditions, keeping up with the times, and also respecting the members that have been there the longest. So that's the first goal, is to grow membership. Second is to increase our presence in the community. My plan on doing this is using social media, but also using a lot of the service projects that we're going to do. Going out, doing good things in the community, and becoming a resource for the community where if they need manpower, they need help, they think of Rotary immediately. And third is the easiest, and it is have fun. And the reason I say that is nobody is at Rotary because they have to be there. Everyone is there because they want to be there. And at least for me personally, if it's not fun and I'm not looking forward to it, I'm probably not going to do it. So Rotary, we want to give people a reason to be there. And that reason is you're going to have fun with good people.
Sure.
You know, Sean, now that you're getting more involved in Rotary and meeting with other club presidents, you're probably getting a sense of, something that's bigger than the Beverly Rotary Club. Rotary is an international organization. It's in countries all over the world. What are some of the challenges that just Rotary as an organization faces here in the U.S. and across the world that you're starting to get maybe familiar with?
Yeah, so the age piece is big. So the demographics of the clubs are such that they're trying to recruit a lot more millennials. So bringing down the average age of the club, because they want to position themselves so that in 10 years, the incoming millennials know what's going on. They've been past the traditions, they know how to run the clubs, and that'll continue us into the future for another 100 plus years for Rotary. That's one of the challenges. The other big challenge is Rotary, specifically our club, and all the clubs in the country, they didn't allow women until the 80s. And so they have this, people have this idea of Rotary that it's a whole bunch of old guys hanging out, which at one point I think that's pretty much what it was, but that's not what we are now. And that's one of the challenges that Rotary has, is getting the word out that we're welcoming. We welcome anyone, as long as you're a good person.
Sure. Then
we welcome you with open arms. And we're a lot more than a bunch of old guys hanging out. It's a really great community of people. Something that's interesting too is right now we're in a climate where it's very divisive, and people have trouble getting together and communicating with people that they don't necessarily agree with, whether it be politically or for whatever reason. I think that is part of the magic of Rotary, is people in general in the whole country, but very specifically our club, are able to put aside their differences, come together, and do what's best for the community.
You mentioned, trying to attract a younger demographic. Are there any particular specific ideas or actionable things that you've considered that might, bring more young people into the club to at least experience it?
Yeah, so we're going to do some events on Fridays. They're going to be at 3 o'clock on Fridays at some nice venues, like say Mission on the Bay, or I'm sorry, Boathouse.
Mission Boathouse, yeah.
In Beverly, where it'll be 3 o'clock on a Friday. People can dip out of work a little bit early before they have to be home with the wife and kids, or whatever they do in the afternoon. And we'll have an hour or two where they can come hang out with a group of Rotarians, get to know us in a very laid-back climate, and hopefully that'll bring in some new members. Let them know that it's not a bunch of old guys. We're a cool, dynamic club, and hopefully they'll be interested in joining from there.
Terrific.
That's awesome. I also think that whenever you have the opportunity to be on a social level with a group of people, it's just different as compared to a formal meeting and, you know, the whole sitting around the table type of thing, right? You get to know somebody a lot better, and these people get to know us and the club in a very different way.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. If somebody comes right to a club meeting, or especially if they come to like a regional level meeting, it comes off as a little bit cultish. Yeah. I think the Kool-Aid runs a little deep. So if we do the social things and the fun get-togethers that aren't really a formal meeting, people are kind of eased into it. They get an idea of what Rotary's about before they get the whole shebang at the weekly meetings.
Well, it's like anything else. They're making an informed decision,
yeah,
which is the right decision to make. So, so obviously you're very involved with Rotary, and we're very lucky to have you as our president this coming year. What other things do you pay attention to relative to charitable stuff or that type of thing?
Yeah, so I found a way to give myself a nice, healthy outlet for stress, get my exercise in, and also raise money. So I've swam a couple years for the Navy SEAL Foundation. So it's a very cool event where they shut down Boston Harbor for 2 hours, and we do an open water swim. So I've done that 2 or 3 years, where we swim 4 miles in open ocean. It's basically just me, a wetsuit, in Boston Harbor.
You swim for 4 hours?
No,
4 miles?
It's 4 miles. So I think it's more 3.2 miles roughly. But I did that with...
I don't think I've done that my whole life.
Collectively.
The last time I did it, there were 100 people. Most of them were current and former Navy SEALs. I came in third.
Oh, that's awesome. Good job.
So that raises money for the Navy SEAL Foundation. I also do the Tough Ruck Marathon, which is the Boston Marathon. It's on a Sunday. It's through the same organization, but it's done with a 45-pound weighted ruck. And that raises money for the Military Friends Foundation. So I've done that. I've also done the regular Boston Marathon. I did those back to back.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, and my final question for you is, what do you like most about being in Beverly?
I like living near Al. That's the best part. No, so Beverly, me and my wife are living in another town nearby. And we had 2 kids. We were looking for a town with a great school system, good people. And I figured, what better place than Beverly? I'm in Rotary. I know everyone in town. And it's been phenomenal. The downtown's great. We have the Cabot. We have good restaurants. We have a whole bunch of good people. So we're very happy here.
Yeah, and we're lucky to have you and your family here as well. Yep. Perfect. And so at this point, let me just take this opportunity. We're kind of wrapping up here. I want to thank you so much, Sean, for joining us today and sharing your life story, your thoughts, your goals and objectives for this coming year at Rotary, which we very much appreciate. And wish you well and wish you great success this year as our president. Mike, always a pleasure to be working with you and seeing you again. And that's it. For more information about our club, please look us up, beverlyrotary.org. And any questions, comments, or issues, we're always happy to hear from you. Thanks for joining us.